Graham County Board of County Commissioners, meeting on January 19th, 2025 order. Members of the County Board of Commissioners are advised hereby of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflict of interest and the appearance of such conflict, and further are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this Board of County Commissioners with respect to which there is conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict. Okay, I'm going to ask Jacob, would you give?
Dear Heavenly Father, just like it was, I thank you for our good blessings and all. Thank you for allowing us to go together here and you that goodness, our keeping God. I pray that you do whatever we receive, that we're still dealing with this virus, and we come in with whatever your hand and not just such a life that we issue, Lord. I pray that you will still rest in our Lord. Guys, the way son have to discuss and decide and let's keep the best interest of the people around. In your precious name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone has had a chance to look over the agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda or
We just have one change to the agenda under number 6. Project manager Jason Marino did not have an update to provide tonight. However, Attorney Howard has an update to give on the Brookfield tax appeal.
are there any other changes? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Okay. If everyone had a chance to look over the minutes of workshop and regular minutes for December the 15th, special meeting for December the 18th, and a special meeting of December the 22nd. Does anyone need additional time? Okay, may I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Right.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? They are approved. Okay. Attorney Cowell, I will recognize you to speak.
Okay.
Click on top.
I got a letter.
The little map.
I got a letter today from the Department of Revenue, which made official the situation with Brookfield Smoky Mountain Hydropower. If you'll remember, the Board of Equalization and Review met to consider their protest at the valuation of their holdings in Graham County. And at that time, they did not present any appraisals of what they thought that their properties were worth. What they did instead was they just tried to tear down what our appraiser thought that the property was worth to be listed for taxation. And so they filed a protest with the Property Commission, and we requested through the official procedure that you use for these kinds of things that they submit to us their appraisals, because Mr. Meager and I had advised the board that they did not present us with appraisals. They just tried to tear down the appraisal that our appraiser had presented. They asked for continuances. They got several continuances for months and months, and we kept on asking for an appraisal. And even into right before Christmas, we were still asking for them to present an appraisal. We were much far apart. We were, our appraiser said that we listed that property for $211 million, and they were pushing for $165 million, which would be a sizable amount of taxes in Graham County. I think they figured out that the difference would be one payroll for the entire county in difference of taxes that they had gotten their way. And we had a conference with several members of the Board of Commissioners and Mr. Meeker and I, and to decide what to do. We had a letter from the attorney for Brookfield that said we'll go up, I think it was $15 million. If you'll come down, we can maybe meet in the middle somewhere. We want to avoid these expensive lawyers and this litigation that's going to ensue if we have to go to the Property Tax Commission in Raleigh and argue this out. And I'm proud to say that the Board of Commissioners, Graham County, said nothing doing. We are sticking firm in our position. If you want to send us some appraisals, then go right ahead. We'll talk to you. But if you're not going to put your appraisals on the table like we have, then there's really nothing to talk about. So 1 week later, we got a letter from the attorney representing Brookfield and said we're going to withdraw our appeal, which means that they're not going to try to go before the property tax and argue that the Board of Equalization and Review made an appealable error. And today, when I got here, I got a letter from the Department of Revenue Property Tax Commission, which makes it official. It's our understanding that U.S. will withdraw the subject appeal from the Property Tax Commission of Graham County. This letter is to advise you that we are closing our file relative to the appeal. We can be of further service. Please let us know sincerely. Stephen Belfry, Secretary to the Property Tax Commission. So it's officially over. They've abandoned their appeal. We're sticking to our number, and I want to congratulate this Board of Commissioners for sticking to it and remaining faithful to the taxpayers. Because you could have caved in, you could have said, well, let's just cut it in the middle, slice this steak, and we'll avoid all expenses. As a matter of fact, you save millions of dollars worth of tax evaluation, which translates into hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of additional expenditures in KFB. And I think it can prove that the people at Brookfield and to their fancy lawyers in Raleigh and Charlotte that you were no different. And I want to congratulate. I'm really proud to get it. And I think that now that the press is here, I hope that it gets a lot of press because the people in this county need to know what you do. A lot of it goes unseen. There's a lot of hard work that gets done that the taxpayers have no idea is going on. But you're working for them, you're working hard for them, and you did a great job. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Attorney Howard. Appreciate the kind words. So very grateful for this board. Jay said, Becky, Jay, all of us who we work together doing well with. Thanks all. And once again, as Jay said, we live in these mountains and we learn a few things along the way. Thank y'all very much. Y'all did a great job too. I appreciate that. Okay, I will recognize Manager and Finance Officer Dart.
Good evening. Attorney Howard mentioned that we calculated the tax where we were different. That was $299,000 a year, which is right at 3 cents on the mill rate. That had we folded and just gone with what Brookfield said, that would have been coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. So I was real proud well, the county commissioners and our attorneys did, and our appraisers did, in giving us where we need to be.
And that number would have been the same number or more in continuing years.
And year after year after year after year. So, that would have put a huge negative impact on what we could do for the people in this county every year. I do have the finance report for December 31st, and if you look on page 1, to begin with, when you look at the wrong numbers, you'll say, oh dear, what's happened? Because it looks like it's a lot of bad news, but it's because of the timing difference in when Brookfield paid their taxes this year. Last year, Brookfield paid by December 31st, and we were able to capture that revenue in to the December reports. This year, it was January the 7th by the time we got the check. However, they had it postmarked December 23rd, so it took that long for the check to arrive. So you'll see that bump when we do this January report. Our general fund cash account, we closed it at $9,509,725. As you'll notice as you go across the page, this time last year was the first time we ever hit $10 million in the bank. That balance does include the $1.5 million that we have in general fund and our capital management trust account. So while it's not as pretty as we would like, it's still in a good healthy range. And we are $608,000 negative from last year, but that's because Brookfield hadn't paid their taxes yet. If you look down the page, you'll also see that in addition to the general fund, we also have our capital project fund, which we're using our quarter-cent sales tax to fund, $2,181,000 and some change in that account. And then, as you'll recall, last month, we opened up the school capital account with the school sales tax reversion in, and that's $115,000 and some change. So we're very fortunate that we're able to, that we were able to get that additional revenue in, and we're able to put that in savings for the people of the county. You'll look on page 3, you'll see that our tax collections for the month of December were $1,321,000. Of course, if you look across the page, last year was $2.9 million. However, our DMV was healthier at $13,000. I'm sorry, our prior year back taxes were $13,005 as opposed to $5,600 this time last year. And I did not have my BTS figures at the point at which I did this report because their website wasn't operational. But we also got in about $42,000 for the month of December, and it gets like that into the bank account. We're at a good positive variance for the PTSD as well. Page 4, you'll see that so far we've collected a little over $4.3 million in current year taxes, or real property taxes, and then about $265 plus the 42 in our BTS. So we're still maintaining a good, healthy collection on those balances. And I'll update that with the January report. Our current year percent collected was at 58.6. Again, that looks scary because this time last year it was 78%. But when I checked in with Tawana, once we took the Brookfield payments and the final tax payments through January 5th, our collection rate was up to 86%. So we're doing fine on tax collection. Page 5, you'll see our revenues for the month of December were $2,179,000 and some change. Our expenditures were $1,392,000. So we have a surplus for the month of December of $788,000, which you'll see the balance of that surplus when we close out January. Page 6, you'll see that our year-to-date surplus is $1,662,000. So once we get the Brookfield in, we'll add to that surplus, and then that'll be the last surplus you'll probably see for the rest of the fiscal year. But that gives us a good cushion in which to draw upon to close out the year. Sales tax on page 7, we still continue to perform well. We got a little over $209,000. That does not include the 4% for capital projects. A little bit lower than our December numbers, but that's to be expected because we were nearing the end of our tourism year. But we're still quite a bit healthier, about $14,000 more than this time last year in our collections. As of the end of December, in our 4% sales tax, we collected $366,000. I have transferred $346,000, so I've got a little over $20,000 to move into the capital management trust account later this week. So we're steadily building that account, which is exactly what we need to be doing as we plan forward for the courthouse project. And then you'll see our tax collections are continuing to build. I'll be so glad to say we hit our $500,000 goal that we set in 2013. But we're getting closer and closer every day. And our collection efforts are going forward as they should be, with garnishment, debt set off, with people beginning to file their income taxes. We'll get a little bit in through debt set off. People don't get as large as state tax refunds as they used to get, but we'll collect those as well. So we're in a good position to grab whatever we can. Any questions on this part of the finance report? Okay, I'm hoping that when I report in January, everything will have flipped over and I'll have a nice following variance in my cash account again. Your budget, as of the end of January, obviously we would have 50% remaining in our budget. When I do the analysis, most every department is right where it needs to be for this time in the year. Countywide, we've got about 52% left in the budget. If you'll remember, we really pulled the budget in, tightened it up. We're very conservative as we budgeted forward. The items in yellow are highlights of departments that have exceeded that percentage. However, most everyone that has exceeded we've either had to front a cost for like an ambulance or a vehicle or other equipment that we've approved. And then I do have a budget amendment related to governing body because we've got a good problem where our capital project sales tax is putting in more than what we budgeted because we're collecting more than we budgeted. So that's pushed the governing body budget ahead. I will note in our IT support that we've had to do some outsourcing of our engineering costs, which has pushed that budget forward. Our engineers have had some health issues this past fall, and he has been unable to work like he has been in the past, and we've had to utilize Catalyst, which is the engineering firm we used before we went with the current engineer. But overall, our budget looks good, and I'm pleased with its performance. Any questions on the budget? I would like to add that as you've watched, our sales tax has performed way better than we budgeted, and so probably when I come in for the February meeting, I will be asking for some items that we had put on the shelf to consider going ahead and making expenditures for, and in addition to a couple of amendments to the pay plan. If you'll remember, in budget we discussed adding some roles for the communications department, and so I was speaking with Missy Henry today, and she and I will probably make some presentation about that at the next board meeting to help forestalling additional turnover. I did have a couple of budget amendments. The first one relates to our sales tax. I did a projection of what we will be putting back into the capital management reserve. And I estimated there'll be another $177,000 that we'll be able to put back by the end of the fiscal year. So I want to add that amount into our capital reserve account and basically fill those additional revenues on them. And also you'll notice that not only do we have a 10 account, we have a 9 account as to, relates to the transfer into our capital projects fund for the same amount. So it's gonna wash through as I transfer the money. So that would be budget amendment 13 to, pick up additional allocations into the capital reserve for our courthouse project.
Anyone have any questions? Any discussion on the finance report or the manager's report? Everyone for a public comment?
No, I need approval for budget amendments. Yeah, I think budget amendment 13.
Motion approved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
And then I also have budget amendment 14, which was an amendment that the board passed last week in the DSS board meeting, which was to pick up $1,000 in foster care stipends and $397 in COVID stipends into the DSS budget. And I think you already approved it. I just need you to, I guess, just ratify
Is
it.
there a motion to ratify, budget amendment? Second. Thank you, all in favor?
So for the manager's report, I have several items that relate to our capital projects. I think at the last meeting, the board was advised that the final school tally, and I've got quite a bit of information in your packet, and I'm going to try to walk you through it step by step. That the middle school construction project bids came in higher than what was anticipated. The school personnel, along with our project manager, voted the low bid, and they were able to do some value engineering, but the total project cost came in at $4,648,648. I'm sorry, $348. Our match, our match has increased from $1,066,000.
Blame me.
One
started off right. I just got mine on that. I don't know if it's the other one.
Okay, our match was going to be $1,066,667. With the additional cost into the grant, or cost of the project, our match becomes $1,170,337.25. That's a difference in the match amount of $103,670.25. We can handle that one of two ways. If the board approves this project for financing, then we can either pay it out of $114,000, the difference out of the money I've already squirreled away from the sales tax, or it can be rolled into the financing. I will tell you this, that we're getting very, very, very little money on our names right now. And we would be paying out more interest on that $103 than we'd be getting interest. So that's just something for you to put in your thought process. If the board is to approve, I did want to go through a couple of items in your packet, so to give you some comfort level. First, you'll have the page that says middle school construction project, and it shows this amount of the local matching state fund in total additional match. Then there's some email traffic that just basically reiterates what I just said about the project, and the breakdown of the bids and what all the total costs are of the project. That's the second page. And then the third page is email traffic between EG90 and Jason, Marino, our project manager, that again reiterates that our additional match would be $103,000 67025. And then the most important email was an email from Nathan Vaughn, which he is with DPI, Department of Construction. And this is where he's confirming that DPI will be providing additional dollars for this project through that grant, because we did not ask for the whole 15 million, so there's obviously room to add. And they also understood that because of COVID, the cost of construction went up. So basically what he's saying is that once they negotiated with the low bidder, once they determine the actual amount required for the award, send a letter detailing the request for additional grant funds, and then he will provide that addition. And this is the individual that Dr. Knight and I met with 2 years ago in Raleigh. So it's nice to have a face-to-face conversation. If you'll click back, that's probably 3 more pages, then you'll see that we are at the point of, if the board approves this project, then we are at the point of needing to do some things as far as the local government commission is concerned. If you'll recall, last week I asked you to approve the letters for joint legislative body, just to give us a placeholder. That was submitted last week to the local government commission, the General Assembly, and also the state treasurer. Our next step is something that Davenport, our debt consultant, has already been working on, and they've already drafted an RFP to send out to lenders, just to state that we're looking to do some financing. What are the terms that you're going to provide to us? Now, bear in mind that when we met with Davenport back in November, that we still had not only the school financing in place that we were looking at, but also cemetery, rec building, and election bills. So these numbers could change based on what this board decides to do. The school board has already approved this project based on these final numbers that we got through the value engineering. So my obvious next step is if the board of commissioners is willing to approve this project as it sits with these current numbers, and then once you approve it, I'll be able to, there's a couple other things I need to talk about this evening.
Anyone have any questions for Vicki or who's their manager, Barlow? Or is there any discussion on any of the information that should be?
Thank you. We've already submitted the documentation to the commission about these projects over there.
I submitted the joint legislative letter that you all approved last week, just stating that it was our intent to finance some level with either way, just the school project and or these other kind of projects. That way we got the place.
What kind of interest do we earn on any money with less than 2%?
Yeah, way less. At one point, on our Alphabet Trust, we were getting $2,000 or $3,000 a month. We're getting maybe $50 a month. On the millions of dollars.
I can believe that's 1%.
It's almost 0%.
What, as far as the interest rate on financing, do we have an idea what that's going to be?
We're hoping for somewhere in like the 2.5 to 2.75 interest rate.
And that'll be financed how many years?
Mitch Virgilio with Davenport is looking at either 15 or 20 years, whichever works out the best in that. We make the best use of it. He's asking for quotes for both.
So, that is your recommendation, is to go ahead and pay the front and the housing.
this time it's correct, the rest of them.
What we would have financed the county.
But I think I agree with you as well, because what we can say is better off the county for long term.
Absolutely. Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept our manager's recommendation on using the funding that we have to go ahead with the school project. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sure that the board, I know that you would like to get more information on these other county buildings, and I know that, project manager Marino was doing research and had not received the information he needed back. So, I'm gonna defer talking about those capital projects until he gets the information to us. However, if you look on the next page, which is the installment financing agreement calendar, financing calendar, you'll see that based on tonight's meeting, Davenport Parker Federal Law Council needs for us to call for a public hearing to be held on February 16th, which is our next regularly scheduled meeting. And also that you would adopt a preliminary findings resolution. So I included, if you'll flip back about 5 more pages, you'll see at the top, I should have known these pages, I apologize. You'll see in pretty small font, resolution of the County of Graham, North Carolina, authorizing the negotiation of an installment financing contract and providing for certain other related matters thereto. Now, if you read through this resolution, it includes all those other capital projects. So you'll notice that Parker Code said very plainly in the top right-hand corner that this is a draft, and so it can be changed to deal with just the school project. And Manager, would you like me to read the resolution? Okay. It says, whereas the County of Graham, North Carolina, the county is a validly existing political subdivision of the state of North Carolina, existing as such under and by virtue of the Constitution, statutes, and laws of the state of North Carolina, known as the state. Whereas the county has the power pursuant to the general statutes of North Carolina to 1, enter into installment contracts in order to purchase or finance or refinance the purchase of real or personal property, and to finance or refinance the construction or repair of fixtures or improvements on real property, and 2, create a security interest in some or all of the property financed or refinance the security payment of the purchase price. And whereas the board hereby determines that it is in the best interest of the county to enter into an installment financing contract, known as the contract, with a financial institution to be determined, known as the bank, in order to finance the capital costs of, and I'm going to skip down to item D, renovating and expanding Robbinsville Middle School located in the county, collectively the projects, and a deed of trust security agreement and fixture filing, the deed of trust related to the county's fee simple interest in real property on which all or a portion of the projects will be located, known as the mortgage property, that will provide security for the county's obligations under the contract. Whereas the county hereby determines that the project is essential for the county's proper, efficient economic operation and to the general health and welfare of its inhabitants, that the project will provide an essential use and will permit the county to carry out public functions that it is authorized by law to perform, and that entering into the contract with deed of trust is necessary and expedient for the county by virtue of the findings presented herein. Whereas the county hereby determines that the contract allows the county to finance the projects at a favorable interest rate currently available in the financial marketplace and on terms advantageous to the county. Whereas the county hereby determines that the estimated cost of financing the project is an amount not to exceed, now, the original says 2.3 million, but that includes costs of these other projects. It would be $1,066,667. And that such cost of financing the projects exceeds the amount that can be prudently raised from currently available appropriations, unappropriated fund balances, and non-voted bonds that can be issued by a county in the current fiscal year pursuant to Article 5, Section 4 of the Constitution of the state. Whereas although the cost of financing the projects pursuant to the contract is expected to exceed the cost of financing the projects pursuant to a bond financing for the same undertaking, the county hereby determines that the cost of financing the projects pursuant to the contract and the deed of trust and the obligations of the county thereunder are preferable to a general obligation bond financing or revenue bond financing for several reasons, including but are not limited to the following. One, the cost of a special election necessary to approve general obligation bond financing as required by the laws of the state would result in expenditure of significant funds. Two, the time required for a general obligation bond election would cause an unnecessary delay, which would thereby decrease the financial benefits of financing the projects. And three, no revenues are produced by the project so as to prevent a revenue bond financing. Whereas the county has determined and hereby determines that the estimated cost of financing the projects pursuant to the contract reasonably compares with an estimate of similar costs under bond financing for the same undertaking as a result of the findings delineated in the above preambles. Whereas the increase in taxes, if any, necessary to meet the sums to fall due under the contract will not be excessive. Whereas Parker Co-Evans and Bernstein LLP as special counsel, the special counsel will render an opinion to the date entered into the contract and the transactions contemplated thereby are authorized by law. Whereas no decision or judgment may be rendered against the county in any action for its breach of the contract, the taxing power of the county is not and may not be pledged in any way directly or indirectly or contingently to secure anything under the contract. Whereas the county is not in default under any of its debt service obligations. Whereas the county's budget process and annual budget ordinance are in compliance with the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, and external auditors have determined that the county has conformed with generally accepted accounting principles as applied to governmental units in preparing its annual budget ordinance. Whereas past audit reports of the county indicate that its debt management and contract obligation payment policies have been carried out in strict compliance with the law, the county has not been censured by the North Carolina Local Government Commission, the LGC, external auditors, or any other regulatory agencies in connection with such debt management and contract obligation payment policies. Whereas a public hearing on the contract after publication of the notice with respect to such public hearing must be held with approval of the LGC with respect to entering the contract must be received. And whereas the county hereby determines that all findings, conclusions, and determinations of the county in this resolution are subject to modification or affirmation after all interested parties have been afforded the opportunity to present their comments at a public hearing regarding the execution and delivery of the contract, the deed of trust, and the projects to be financed thereby. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Greene, North Carolina as follows. Authorization to negotiate a contract ratification that the Chair of the Board of Commissioners and the County Manager/Finance Officer with advice from the County Attorney and Special Counsel are hereby authorized and directed to solicit proposals from financial institutions to finance the projects and to proceed and negotiate on behalf of the county to finance the projects for a principal amount not to exceed. The original says 2.3 million, but it will be at least $1,066,667, but there will be closing costs. So I guess that will change to that plus closing costs under the contract being entered into in accordance with the provisions of Section 168-20 of the General Statutes of North Carolina, and to provide in connection with the contract the security for the county's obligation therein under the deed of trust, conveying a lien and interest in the mortgage property, including the improvements thereon, as may be required by the bank, providing the funds to the county under the contract. All actions with the Chair of the Board of Commissioners and the County Manager/Finance Officer or their designees in furtherance of financing the projects, whether previously or hereinafter taken, are hereby ratified and authorized. Section 2, application to LGC. The County Manager/Finance Officer or her designee is is hereby directed to file with the LGC an application for its approval of the contract and all relevant transactions contemplated there, file in the form prescribed on the LGC and to state in such application such facts and to attach thereto such exhibits regarding the county and its financial condition as may be required by the LGC. Section 3, direction to retain special counsel and financial advisor, that the county manager and the county manager/finance officer with advice from the county attorney are hereby authorized and directed to retain the assistance of Parker Poe Adams and Bernstein LLP, Charlotte, North Carolina, as special counsel, and Davenport Company LLC, Charlotte, North Carolina, as financial advisor. Section 4, public hearing, that a public hearing, known as the public hearing, will be conducted by the Board of Commissioners on February 16, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. in the Grant County Community Building, 196 9th Street, Robbinsville, North Carolina, concerning the contract, the deed of trust, the proposed financing of the projects, and any other transactions contemplated therein and associated therewith. Section 5, notice of public hearing, that the clerk of the board is hereby directed to cause a notice of public hearing in the form attached hereto as Exhibit A to be published once in a qualified newspaper of general circulation in the county, no fewer than 10 days prior to the public hearing. Section 6, repealing, that all motions, orders, resolutions, and parts therein in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Section 7, effective date of this resolution is effective on its date of adoption.
Is there any question or discussion about the resolution? I will entertain a motion to approve this resolution as stated, with the changes in the numbers. That. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you, Jackie.
And then if the board could make a motion to call for the public hearing on February 16th at 5:30 p.m.
Is there a motion to conduct a public hearing as stated? Second. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I will advise Davenport and Parker Poe of all of this proceeding before I go home, and that way they can get the ball rolling. My next step will be the application of the Water Government Commission. A couple other items in the manager's report, I'll try to be as brief as possible. Last meeting, the board approved enhancements to the 911 CAD system. Unbeknownst to us, the company failed to quote the specialty antenna that will have to be installed on the vehicles using the system. That additional cost is $5,500. It would have to come from the general fund. We have begun the process of terminating the vehicle tracking system with Verizon that we put in place 2 years ago. This new system will provide the same information, and so the termination of the Verizon system will basically pay for the new system, the new antenna within 8 months. I did tell Ms. Henry, however, that this project would have to be put on hold pending the board's approval for the additional costs. And I did not know if the board wanted to approve that additional cost or not.
Is there a motion to approve? Well, I'll open the floor for discussion. Is there any discussion on the additional?
It's not a woman.
This is county dollar for this part, and that's why, I scratched my head and I thought, well, we are terminating this Verizon contract that will pay for, basically keeping itself out in the 8 months. It's not $901 for this piece.
Is there any other discussion? Any questions?
Pretty much, very little is approved by the home report anymore. The CAD part is approved, but not the implementation piece.
Are they gonna do, all the county vehicles, or just public safety?
Public safety.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion to approve this expenditure? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Three.
Just wanted to give some COVID update. In front of me, also, the board approved the purchase of a new Meals on Wheels vehicle using approved COVID funding for the senior center. We had gotten some state contract pricing from one vehicle in the amount of $24,500. That would be a Ford Escape. We are waiting on some more quotes, however, under our state contract pricing, the cost will be close to this amount, no matter what vendor we use. I also have contacted our fleet management company, Enterprise, to see what they can put on the outside. So we're hopeful that when we get the quotes, that we'll be able to hold the board and go ahead and get this in the works between board meetings, if that's later than forward. We have made our allocation of the school system for their radios. The radios were delivered. They're in the middle of installing. There is one question about the repeater and where it's going to be located. So Larry and I are working on that logistics. Food bank, I believe we're still waiting on some final tallies from the food distribution sites to make our allocation of $30,000 on that. As soon as that we receive those tallies, we'll be making those allocations. And then I wanted to address the generator failure at AJGS building. It has been determined that the turbo and the engine failed, and so we are working with our mechanic and our truck service to make the necessary repairs. I don't have an estimate of the cost at this point. On Christmas night, I went ahead and emailed the folks at the Office of Rural Health, Maggie Sawyer, who's been a wonderful advocate for this county, to let her know about what could have happened to our vaccine. And she quickly came back with a suggestion that we might get grant money to replace that big generator due to COVID and all of the issues in the vaccine. Of course, we've already got a fail-safe generator on order, or just the refrigerator, the freezers. And she thought maybe we could get one of those rural health grants. However, we don't qualify for that. But Dogwood Trust has shown some interest, so we're giving them specifications. I've had our electrician work with us on that to see what Dogwood Trust might do. So we may get some grant money, and I'll know that hopefully in the next few weeks. Also under grants, we have the Snowbird Flood Emergency Protection Program grant. I had a call with the state right before Christmas. They instructed me to apply for additional funding to do the actual cleanup of the trees that are causing the issues in the creek. The initial allotment that we received in December is for engineering and plans for the cleanup and abatement. I haven't sent out an RFP for these services as soon as I'm able. The additional funds we can apply for are a total of $242,449, of which $221,000 is federal funding, and there would be a $21,083 county match. Of course, this match can come in kind. It doesn't have to be in cash. I've gone over everything with Commissioner Eller. He's our designated official, and we just need approval from the board to apply for these things and approval for the $21,083 match to either come in cash and kind of a combination.
So is there any discussion on approving the match for these funds? I know I was speaking with county manager. We could get a dozer if somebody wanted to donate their equipment for a few hours and get a big chunk, about $2,200. Any other discussion? Thank you, John. Is there a second? All in favor?
And then our CDBG scattered site, we finally had some movement on our environmental review document. There is one item on the address in closed session. It has been completed and signed off by our board chair, and it's on file in our county manager's office for public review. This is a very important step forward. We've been waiting on this for almost a year for this to be approved and completed by the state. We've also already spoken with Commerce regarding the extension on this grant, and they instructed our grant administrator to wait just a little while. Our next steps will be getting ready to go through some plans and whatnot to start the process of construction. So that's a big win for Fannin County. We also received the grant documents in for the CDBG grant for COVID money, which is the $900,000 grant that was awarded in December. Those have been signed and we're ready to send those off tomorrow. My next step on that grant is the procurement process for the project manager. We'll have to advertise and put in down on these proposals. One other item is our roadmaster. Lynn Turner has retired. Her spouse passed away during this past year, and so she is doing something different. She's done a tremendous job for our county with this, our webpage. So I just want to give her a couple of thanks for the hard work that she did, especially during the spring with our COVID. She never failed to do the postings and build a whole new page for us overnight, and just did a tremendous job for us. So I will be bringing probably some proposals to the board for a new webmaster very soon. We have the password, which is something we didn't have the last time. Kim's able to log in, Charles is able to log in. We're able to do what maintenance we need to do in the meantime. So we're in a good place with our webpage. It has been 4 years since we've done any major renovation to the webpage, so it might be something we're not going to think about as we go forward. Any questions on the manager's report?
Thank you so much, and I do apologize for jumping out of order here. Some of you may not know that I'm blind, and I have no sense, but I'll have a meeting. I had cataract surgery, can't see one time. So, thank you, Becky, for reading all of the resolution and helping me out there. Okay? Do you have anyone with public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We'll move on to discussion items. We have releases of $6,273.21 and discoveries of $4,506.45. Is there a motion to approve the releases and discoveries? Second? Thank you, all in favor? Also, we need to see, Becky, would you want to address that declaration on the
Yes.
reimbursement for sanitation?
Yes, this relates to our USDA grant/loan. It's going to total $325,000 for the loan and $75,000 from the grant. The board has previously approved the purchase of the garbage truck as well as the walking trailer. And if there's any money left over in the grant, maybe you'll get some miscellaneous equipment like these boxes and so forth. But this is a part of the local government commission because USDA has not finalized the closing, and they won't finalize the closing until we spend the money. So we have to have a declaration to reimburse ourselves. And it states that the issuer anticipates incurring expenditures for the purchase of the 2021 Mack TerraPro garbage truck for $273,179, plus applicable state and local taxes. One Mack walking trailer for $74,518, plus applicable taxes. and sanitation containers up to a maximum of $52,303. The issuer intends to finance the cost with the proceeds of debt to be issued by the issuer, as the borrower, the interest on which is to be excluded from gross income for federal tax purposes. The maximum principal amount of debt to be issued is to be incurred is to finance the project does not to exceed $325,000 in loan, plus $75,000 in grant funding from the SDA. The issuer hereby declares its official intent to reimburse itself with the proceeds of the borrowing and any expenditures incurred by prior to the issuance of the borrowing. I would just need the board to approve this so that we can reimburse ourselves when we close on the loan.
Thank you.
And the grant.
Is there a motion to approve this declaration, please?
Motion.
Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. Also, I will need a motion to approve the board poll of December 30th. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second?
Good.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, Becky, I will yield to you just a moment on the community services block grant application.
Right, this is the, this relates to the money that runs to Foursquare, every action. And it's an annual grant application that the county has to sign off on, as well as all the other partners with the Foursquare community action.
I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
No.
All in favor? Okay, I think you'll find in your packet, the new COVID-19 sick policy, if you'll want to read up there. Over that, if there's any discussion or questions?
The only question I had was, and I just glanced over that, we did that Tuesday, day, that have a sunset date on it. And I'm good for it, would it go into June 30th or something, and that, you know, just for me to go after that, so we can extend it. Because I don't think it should be a permanent change to the personnel policy.
Is there a recommendation for a sunset date?
And that's, the way that it's written is good, I'm glad we can try to help our employees, but again, I don't think it should be a permanent change. So that would be my recommendation, that it has a sunset date of June 30th, 2021.
So there's a recommendation for June 30th, 2021. Any other discussion?
If somebody is on the union, donating leave, they're leaving for credit. Is that the way I read that? Or is it-
That's correct.
But if you're using your own leave, it's just like normal.
Yes. These are for people who exhaust
Right.
all of their leave.
Thank you. Okay.
With that, what they said, it's not like you, if we have to extend it.
I think that's a great idea, and not just leave it an open-ended job hearing. Okay? A motion to add a sunset date into this policy, and then approve the policy.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? All in favor? Okay, also we need to replace Brian Farley on the Board of Equalization and Review. Do I hear a motion for a replace?
be the ground to replace.
He resigned from, he's taking another job and he resigned.
That other job can be a conflict.
I'd like to see a realtor. A realtor, I think, me, and I thought about, Katie Presley Jones. I haven't talked to her, so I wouldn't want to, nominate her or anybody else that I talked to. So we'll table it to the next meeting.
I think that's good. Go ahead and take on to the next meeting. If it's agreeable with the board, for further discussion and, fact finding. I had thought that exact person. I think we have one other appraiser who's pretty much around town doing Aaron Stewart. Just for a couple of names for, the board to be considering.
He's serving.
Okay.
Is he a right or did he serve?
Okay, something to think about, and then we'll readdress this at the next meeting.
Everybody come back next meeting with somebody. Bring them with you.
Is there anything
Already
further?
volunteer.
Anything further for open session? Can I hear a motion to go into closed session? I think this is second. TS 143, 31811A, 1356, privilege of confidential information, attorney-client privilege, personnel and contracts with 2-minute break.
Go with it.
All in favor?